extremely difficult to not know where she is and to not have laid her to rest. You know, she wasn't treated with any dignity in her death. She was discarded.
It's now David's turn to come forward, accept his guilt, and to help the family get some closure and to help us find Suzanne's body.
One reporter was even able to ask, you know, David Gilroy at his home, did you kill Suzanne Pilley? He obviously said that he did not, and he said the investigation into the case would prove his innocence.
This is the office where Suzanne Pilley worked as a bookkeeper for Infrastructure Managers Limited in 2010. And it was while working here she met David Gilroy, and the pair embarked upon a secret affair. But Suzanne decided to end the turbulent relationship, but married father of two Gilroy couldn't accept it was over and sent her over 400 text messages in the month before she went missing. Miss Pilley's final journey to work on the 4th of May was tracked by officers using CCTV footage. They sifted through hours of footage plotting Suzanne's final journey to a workplace in Edinburgh city centre. They saw her here with a shoulder bag and a bottle of mineral water, getting on the number 2 bus near a home in Whitsun Road, here in the Stennis area of the city, at around 8:20 in the morning. When she arrived at her work in Thistle Street, she had just spent the night with a new man, Mark Brooks. Her former lover, David Gilroy, couldn't accept that and persuaded her to go to the office basement where he killed her.
We believe that David met Suzanne on the morning on May 2010. He met Suzanne within the workplace. We believe in the basement area where some form of disagreements happened and David's ultimately killed Suzanne. We believe he hid her body there, returned home for his personal vehicle. It was in the city centre, so there was limited parking, and he returned home, got his vehicle, brought it back to the workplace at Thistle Street in the centre of town. He parked it within the garage, underground garage area of the building, where he then has moved Suzanne from the stairwell area where we believe he hid her and put her into the boot of his vehicle.
Colleagues described him seeming as clammy and sweaty, with scratches on his neck and face, but somehow he managed to get his act together. He bought air fresheners and Superdrug on Princes Street and began his cover-up.
The next day, fabricated changed his diary and amended it to a meeting that was supposed to happen later in the week up in Lochgilphead at the football pitches up there to examine the ground to make sure that the development was coming along fine. He's changed that appointment. We know he changed that appointment because he was supposed to be travelling with someone else to that appointment, and he didn't go with that person but travelled on his own. That's the point. We think we've got missing time on his journey north and we have missing time on his journey south. The times these journeys should have taken him were excessive, and we believe in those missing times is when he's taken the opportunity either on the way up or on the way back down to hide Suzanne's body.
And it's very difficult, obviously. You know, you talk about the amount of time that somebody like David Gilroy has had to be able to dispose of the body, you know, and it's not only the amount of time, but the sheer vastness of the area.
That's correct. The route he took was not the normal route that he would take to Lochgilphead, which he'd visited a number of times as part of this work that was ongoing. And we know it wasn't the normal route because the person that he would normally travel with had given the route that they'd taken every time they'd driven up there. So we know from looking at that, for examining the CCTV footage and the times that he's arrived, from what we do know from his mobile phone activity, we know that there's about an hour and a half on his way north and an hour and 50 minutes on his way back south that are missing. So that's an incredible amount of time when you look at the area he could have covered in those 2 periods of time. That brings in a huge land area of where he could have taken Suzanne and hidden her.
Suzanne had been reported missing by her parents on the last day she was seen. Just over 2 weeks later, the police released a statement saying they were now treating her disappearance as a murder investigation. The next day, a search of the Argyll area was launched, spanning an area of 400 miles, as detectives leading the inquiry at the time appealed for information.
We're appealing today for the sightings of around the movement of a vehicle. We're appealing to anyone who may have seen a vehicle on unclassified roads parked up a forestry track or just off the road. And the vehicle we're looking for is a silver family saloon. I'm not asking, or I don't expect anyone to be able to give me any great detail about the vehicle, registration numbers, such. What's important to me is the sighting. It's the location of where that vehicle is parked. Suzanne was undertaking a normal journey to work on the 4th. Everything about the journey was normal. I've spoken to our parents today and we've discussed the progress of our investigation and that we're coming through here to the Argyll forest. We're satisfied for the progress of the investigation, and today I'm asking people, think about the circumstances, think about any sightings you have of a vehicle which may be unattended. There may be a single man within the vehicle, maybe standing around looking. Tell us about where that was. Suzanne's family have feared the worst, really, from the very word go, and so we've discussed with them this morning, and it's clearly they're very, very devastated. And this is it's not the news that they would want to hear, but nevertheless, they're supporting us.
When Miss Pilley disappeared, David Gilroy was under intense scrutiny from the media, but somehow kept his cool and gave an astonishing TV interview outside his home in Edinburgh. Scottish Sun reporter Kevin Duguid covered the story at the time and recalled Gilroy saying he would be proved innocent.
Furthermore, there was a lot of press attention at David Gilroy's house itself. Unusually for the press, they were able to confront somebody before they were even charged in relation to it, because the police were still building their case at that time. And one reporter was even able to ask, David Gilroy at his home, did you kill Suzanne Pilley? He obviously said that he did not, and he said the investigation into the case would prove his innocence.
After eliminating theories that Pilley had not gone into work or had met someone else, the police were able to reconstruct Gilroy's movements using CCTV cameras, his car's mileage and fuel usage, as well as his own admissions. A team of 20 officers scoured CCTV footage from 250 cameras and uncovered a missing 2-hour period in his journey that Gilroy failed to explain. His car also had damage suggesting he had driven it on rough tracks or off-road. On the 23rd of June 2010, Gilroy was detained by police, and later that day he was arrested and charged with the murder of Suzanne Pilley. During questioning, the police found he had disguised cuts and bruises on his hands. It
was initially a missing persons inquiry, but the police soon became suspicious of David Gilroy when they discovered that he was having an affair with Suzanne at the time, or had been having an affair with Suzanne at the time. He was brought in for interview initially as a witness, where they discovered that he had scratch marks on his hands and he tried to conceal them with makeup. That made the police very suspicious, and from then on in, they set about trying to prove that David Gilroy was guilty of murdering Suzanne Pilley. On the 20th of February, David Gilroy appeared at the Sheriff Court in Edinburgh, charged with Suzanne's murder and a number of other offences relating to her disappearance. A jury of 8 men and 4 women sat at the court for the trial, which lasted 24 days. On the 15th of March 2012, David Gilroy was found guilty by majority verdict of the murder of Suzanne Pilley and attempting to defeat the ends of justice.
This statement's obviously been read on behalf of the Pilley family, and it's very much in their words. This day's been a long time coming, but finally Suzanne's received the justice she deserved. As a family, we continue to struggle to come to terms with losing her. We've lost our daughter, but her memory lives on in everyone who knew her. Suzanne was a devoted daughter, a supportive friend, and an exemplary colleague at work. She was a proud Scot who led a full and active life and enjoyed the great outdoors, always walking, cycling and keeping fit. We've been met with nothing but kindness from her many friends during this time of great sorrow. We'd like to express our gratitude to every police officer involved in the investigation and to Alec Prentice and his team for their efforts in bringing this case to a conclusion today. Although the trial has ended, our ordeal goes on, and we hope that one day we can lay our daughter to rest.
Gilroy was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 18 years. But despite being found guilty, he refuses to reveal where he buried Suzanne. Speaking for the first time 8 years after Suzanne went missing, Sister Gail and her mother Sylvia just want to find her so they can give her a proper funeral.
I think every time she's mentioned, you struggle with the fact that she's not been found. I think it's hard to think about her because we just don't know where she is. And that's the first thought that comes in to your head when she's mentioned, is just, where are you? So it's extremely difficult to not know where she is and to not have laid her to rest. You know, she wasn't treated with any dignity in her death. She was discarded, and we just do not know where she is. And that is just sometimes unbearable. But, you know, we have to move forward. And I would love to be able to just give her that, you know, that funeral, that dignity that every person deserves. But, you know, unfortunately we can't do that.
Just we feel that I feel, and my husband feels, that it's as if she didn't matter and she's gone and we can't do anything about it. So we have to rely on the public if they're out and about in that area, maybe dog walkers, and we've been fortunate with the forestry workers. Have been very good. In any position that looks as if it's been disturbed, they notify the police. And we're very grateful for that, because we hope one day she will be found.
David was convicted by a jury of murder, and the jury's opinion was that he had killed Suzanne and hid her body. He seems to maintain his innocence in that. He seems to think that the jury were incorrect and that the prosecution were wrong, and to that extent he's not telling us or assisting us in relation to where he has hidden Suzanne's body.
Very frustrating, you know, for the family and for yourselves as well.
Very frustrating, yep. It's morally, you would think that someone would come forward and help a family that's grieving in such a way, albeit for the reasons that the murder happened in. That's past, that's in the past. It's now David's turn to come forward, accept his guilt, and to help the family get some closure and to help us find Suzanne's body.
The search for Suzanne's body continues, and police are appealing for any new information, while the man responsible for her murder could be released in less than 6 years.